For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. The three-day ceasefire between Palestine and Israel ended at 8 this morning local time, with no word on any extension. Some reports indicate both sides have already resumed firing rockets. A Palestinian spokesman has previously said the ceasefire would not be extended. He says the group decided not to extend the ceasefire due to Israel's rejection of Hamas demands during indirect talks in Cairo. Palestine has asked for the blockade by Israel and Egypt to be lifted, in addition to the freeing of around 100 prisoners held by Israel. They say that Israel has failed to meet its demands, including the reopening of the Gaza harbor to shipping. Yesterday, President Barack Obama authorized United States airstrikes in Iraq. Obama claims they will remain limited to protecting U.S. personnel. The announcement followed an earlier decision by the White House that it would begin airdrop operations with humanitarian aid.
Today, I authorized 2 operations in Iraq: targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel, and a humanitarian effort to help save thousands of Iraqi civilians who are trapped on a mountain without food and water and facing almost certain death. To stop the advance on Erbil, I've directed our military to take targeted strikes against ISIL terrorist convoys should they move toward the city. We intend to stay vigilant and take action if these terrorist forces threaten our personnel or facilities anywhere in Iraq.
A dozen people were killed yesterday by a U.S. airstrike in the district of Marza, southwest of the capital, Kabul. Earlier in the day, a separate strike killed 2 people in the central province of Maidan Wardak. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived in the country for his second visit in a month. He hopes to push a deal between the country's 2 presidential candidates on how to share power after the presidential election audit vote finishes. In mid-July, the 2 sides agreed to a full audit of the votes under observation of the United Nations. But the audit has proven much more difficult than expected due to the high levels of fraud and disputed vote ballots, which has halted the process. A new hearing is scheduled today between Argentina and representatives of the holdout vulture funds. The 2 sides will meet in New York this afternoon. Judge Thomas Griesa says he called the meeting to respond to ads published in the Wall Street Journal and New York Times by the Argentine government. The ads demand that Argentina be allowed to pay the restructured bondholders the money which is currently frozen in the Bank of New York under Griesa's instructions. The notice of the meeting came a few hours after news broke that Argentina had filed a claim against the United States before the International Court of Justice in The Hague. Argentina accuses Washington of violating its sovereign immunity following the judgment in favor of the vulture funds. Brazilian president and candidate for re-election Dilma Rousseff officially receives the support of the 6 largest unions in the country. Union leaders delivered the document with their petitions during an event in Sao Paulo. Rousseff says that Brazil will continue advancing with the Workers' Party. Former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has also confirmed his support for Rousseff. The election is set for October 5th. Yesterday, Bolivia celebrated the creation of the armed forces, which comes right after Bolivian Independence Day. In recent years, the tradition has seen some changes. Our Bolivian correspondent David Daughtry reports.
In Bolivia, August 7th, the day after the country's Independence Day, marks the anniversary of the National Armed Forces, which celebrated their 189th year in 2014. Each year, a massive military parade is staged in the administrative capital of La Paz. Since the arrival of President Evo Morales and Bolivia's self-proclaimed process of change, the march is now led by a massive procession of social movements.
We are also soldiers in the process of change, and because of this, we must stand united as Bolivians.
Dozens of worker and campesino-led movements participate in the procession, including rural indigenous Aymara organizations and militias identified by their red ponchos.
We have always been the guardians of this process of change, and that is why we are participating in the military parade representing the 20 provinces of the La Paz department.
Before coming to power in 2006, Morales, as well as a number of Bolivian social movements, fell victim to abuses committed by the Bolivian military. Organizers say that now things have changed.
This didn't exist before. In fact, it was the opposite. The military was against the people and against the indigenous people. But now there is brotherhood and harmony.
Just over 30 years ago, the Bolivian military was responsible for a series of coups d'etats and dictatorships as part of the US-led Plan Condor in South America. However, they are said to have undergone major changes under the administration of President Evo Morales. In 2010, the commander of the Bolivian Armed Forces pledged to defend the process of change led by President Evo Morales, declaring the military as socialist, anti-capitalist, and anti-imperialist. Reporting from La Paz, Bolivia, this is David Doherty with Telesur.
To Africa now. Today, the World Health Organization called the Ebola outbreak in West Africa an extraordinary event now classified as an international health risk. WHO leaders say that future consequences of the deadly virus are particularly serious because of the contagious nature of the disease. WHO Chief Dr. Margaret Chan calls for international solidarity even for areas not experiencing Ebola cases. She urges the international community to provide support. China has announced it will donate $4.9 million towards Ebola assistance. Yesterday, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization ended cooperation with Russia and increased aid to Ukraine. Anders Fogh Rasmussen, the Secretary General of that organization, says that they were strengthening the collective defense in order to protect NATO members. Also discussed was the possibility of improving cooperation between the alliance and Kiev in the military field. After the meeting, the Western Military Alliance confirmed it will train and fund Ukraine's military. A meeting is set between NATO and Ukraine for September 4th in Wales. Brazil's David Luiz has been officially announced as a Paris Saint-Germain player under an $82 million transfer. The English side Chelsea bought the transfer of the Brazilian World Cup captain. He will be the 5th Brazilian player to join the French club. The president of Paris Saint-Germain says that Luiz is currently the best defender in the world. More on those and other stories at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Waddle.